welcome. This is Patchwork Arts Council with Amanda Reilly and Jess Valentin from Muñeca Art House. And this is the first in a series of artist talks and conversations that we're calling Stir Crazy sessions. Because, you know, you might be going a little stir crazy. So why not get together and talk about art? We have a couple different virtual programs that we've been doing through the Patchwork Arts Council. You can check in on Facebook and Instagram to see what we've been up to and the programs we're creating for you while we can't be together in the gallery. But today I'm super excited to have Amanda Reilly here with Jess Valentin to talk all about Human Nature, which is the solo exhibition up at Muñeca Art House. And so I'm going to hand it over to Jess Valentin so she can talk to you a little bit more about Muñeca Art House.
Hey guys, I'm Jessie. I'm the owner of Muñeca Art House. We're here in Patchogue on South Ocean Avenue. We have the Amanda Reilly exhibit up, Human Nature. It's gorgeous. We had an amazing opening reception in early March, right before the end of times happened. So we were able to celebrate. We sold a bunch of pieces. The work is really stunning, really outer worldly and beautiful. So, you know, a little bit about the gallery. We show a lot of kind of out of the box art here, things that don't get necessarily shown in a traditional Long Island gallery. So a lot of illustrators, graffiti artists, comic artists, a lot of digital work that gets shown, and a lot of interesting stuff. We sell Kid Robot art toys, and everything here is made by a great artist, a lot of local art. So definitely come down when you have a chance, and we're open again. But I'm going to turn this around so I can walk you around the gallery so you could see the gallery space as well as some of the work from the gallery. So Amanda, I don't know if you want to talk while I'm strolling and just give a little info about your show.
Sure.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to turn this
virtual tour. Ooh.
Oh, that's my mural that I painted. I painted for this show.
It's directly on the wall, Amanda?
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
All right.
I don't know if my mic's off.
No, yours is on.
There you
Oh, sorry about this.
I'm going to leave you both. You both will be on for the remainder.
Okay.
All right. So here's the work that she painted on the wall for the gallery, and here's the two pieces in the front. I'm sorry, a lot of them have glass on them, so you might get a little bit of a glare.
Oh, it's pretty good, lady. Yeah,
these illustrations are gorgeous. Amanda, when I'm going around, you can tell me a little about the
like each
piece or what you use to create it.
All right. Well, this is transference and countertransference. It is ink and watercolor on paper. I think the size was, I'm like very bad at memorizing sizes. Okay. I think it was like 22 by 30.
I'm going to let you know. I'm going to bring the paperwork around with me.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's been a while.
24 by 36.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was kind of close. Yeah, so those are the biggest, like some of the, when you go around, you'll see some of like the other watercolor ones I've done for the show. Those are that's like the biggest kind of watercolor stuff I've done to date. Usually I paint really big or I draw really big, and I decided to do very, very vastly big watercolor and ink pieces. So this is one of them. Yeah, and it's a very visceral, scary image.
They're beautiful. If you can't tell on the piece, aside from having these pieces available as prints, signed and numbered limited edition prints, also you can see the texture on the animal is like bees.
Yeah, it's spiders.
Spiders. You know, it's funny, me and Eric were saying bees and you said spiders. I'm sorry.
So I took like a leopard and I changed the spots. Instead of having spots, this vicious attacking leopard who's attacking a chicken, which you can kind of see at the bottom. You like pan your camera a little lower. And yeah, so I replaced, it's more like symbolism, with the spiders, changing the spiders at the spots. But it took me a while to finish that piece. That one took the longest, I think, out of all the pieces in the show because of how repetitive it was to draw all that. But yeah, I think it's one of that piece, and then I have I have like a couple of other ones you'll cycle through that are more of like the intimidating, scarier, darker pieces in the show.
Miss Amanda, can you talk to us a little bit about your background, like how you all came to be?
Oh, well, let's see. When I first started illustrating, I did a lot of like erotic art. I started to become known for drawing a lot of phallic erotic art, and I started to feel like, sometimes you kind of get tired of being pigeonholed in one type of art. So I began to move on a little, and I began to basically draw a lot of burlesque. I would go to, back in like, I'd say 2015 to 16, I began to go to a lot of burlesque and sideshow and cabaret shows, and I would basically go there and I would draw the performers live. And it sort of became a tradition of mine for almost about 2 years. I would go to this Coney Island sideshow, and I would go and I would draw these incredible performances. And then eventually I sort of navigated into murals after that. So I did live drawing a little bit less, and I navigated into bigger pieces. And that's when I had done Arts on Terry.
Yay!
And you had found me.
We found you. We love you.
So I started doing larger pieces, but they were more along the lines of like, again, the burlesque and the cabaret, and the Coney Island sideshow kind of stuff. I did murals for the Curiosity Shop in Patchogue that are very like, again, sideshow and Coney Island theme, which I can show later on my website. I have
Oh, great.
And then I did a mural for Toast in Bayshore, and that one is like a giant carousel. Again, very carnival sideshow burlesque themed. And then shortly after that, I sort of felt like, again, I was sort of being pigeonholed.
Oh,
For
okay.
one type of art again. So I tend to like move on in subject and theme because it kind of keeps things fresh. So that's when I started to draw more visceral monsters and creatures, like I'm drawing now. So that's my kind of background. And
Yeah.
It was a very like long road of development and evolution. It wasn't like in a day. It was a couple of years of trial and error, because I'm self-taught. I've had a couple of mentors over the year, but I graduated from a graphic design program, so kind of all like the painting and illustrative techniques and animation techniques that I've sort of learned have either been have been mostly self-taught. So yeah.
What about your materials? Can you share with us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I brought them.
Ooh, let's see them. We love to see what you're using.
Okay. So for my drawings, I don't know if you can see that well.
We're gonna bring it right up to the camera. Yeah, there we go. Oh,
I use my Martin's. This is a waterproof ink, so you can like douse it with water and it won't budge off the paper. So I love using this because when I did my bigger watercolor pieces, I would do the drawings wet on wet. So I would cover I would do my drawing, let it dry, and then I would completely spray down the paper to be able to introduce the color to my drawing. So this is the best.
Ooh,
I also use, I feel like this is cheating.
Oh, it's not cheating.
These are Pentel pens. I'm sure there's people that use in the chat that use Pentel pens. I love them because again, they're like filled with waterproofing, and they come in like little cartridges.
Oh, cool.
You fill up, and I use you can maybe see.
Yeah.
Tip.
You can see the tip.
So, and then I use Tombow pens. These are water-based, so these are not waterproof. And again, they're brush pens, but these you can like use like a watercolor. You can smudge these around. So I use those.
Do you have favorite paper? What's your paper?
I do. Arches.
Oh yes.
Arches is my favorite. It's like so expensive. It's a
Oh.
luxury.
It is a luxury, but it's archival, and that's important.
It's amazing. Yeah, I used to use you know, like those little like sketch pads that you buy at the craft store. But they would be like moderately, I'd say they were about like 18 by 24, and I would use those. And then when I started to invest, you know, in better paper, I know some people say like the tools really don't make the artist, but let me tell you that the right paper and paint and materials can really sort of make a difference.
Yeah, they make a big difference, and they make your work last longer. So that's super important.
Yeah. But Arches paper, the Arches that I use is, I think it's 300 or 400 pound or even more. It's like cardboard thickness. When it's not like.
Oh, I love it. That's nice. And because it's such good paper, it can put up with the type of abuse you need to kind of put it through to do your layers.
Yeah, and that paper doesn't warp. So all the paintings that I did in my show, when I would cover them in water, they wouldn't like warp at all because of how thick they were.
Yeah, because you're putting so much ink and layers onto these. Like as Jess walks around, we can see that.
The tiger piece
needs to put up with it.
Yeah, the tiger piece that you last showed, that one was like on the brink of warping. But it's so much material, so many watercolor washes on that. But that one, like a lot of my work in this show is like heavily inspired by Japanese woodblock print work, like hokusai.
Oh, that makes sense.
A lot of the woodblock grates, because I love how they set up their compositions with such bold graphics.
Yes.
That's Barbie and Ken.
I love it. Barbie and Ken. Miss Amanda, do you want to just like take human nature from the beginning and just give us like a whole overview of really what human nature is about, your exhibition, and kind of how you came to decide on the work that's included?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2 years ago, Jess kind of came to me and said, hey, do you want to do a show? So I started creating like more, you know, demonic monster pieces, because I thought, oh, you know, this is like a kind of no symbolism really behind some of them. But what happened was, you know, life circumstances came about back in last year. And my grandmother was diagnosed with cancer in June of 2018. So that, you know, halfway through, I sort of had a change of perspective of, you know, development of what each of my pieces and the symbolism behind each of my pieces in my show. And she was home with us. We had her at home hospice here. So me, my mom, and my aunts had to take care of her. So I sort of experienced a lot of a very traumatic experience.
Yes.
From June until about December, when she passed here at home, and then at hospice. But we had her here, and it was, you know, I learned there's a lot of suffering. It was just very negative. So I needed like an outlet to express my frustration and a lot of stuff that was going on, you know, and my frustrations towards humankind.
Yeah.
Because when you go through an experience like that, you sort of your perspective changes greatly. And when you're dealing with such a situation, when you see how other people outside of your world and your walls are acting and behaving, and you take a step back and you say, wow, how unnecessary and how ridiculous they look, the way that they act, they speak, they talk, behave. I sort of began to just change my views on behavior and that sort of thing. So I sort of began to realize that the monsters I was creating was more of like transmogrification, not an evolution, more along the lines of seeing how people's personalities and their hateful traits can mutate them into these bizarre, you know, very haunting creatures. So that's kind of, I hope I'm making sense.
You are making plenty of sense.
Okay, that's kind of like how I came up with the concept, and how I realized, you know, in June and going forward, that the stuff I actually was creating was an outlet, a cathartic outlet to what I was experiencing here at home and in my life.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how the human nature concept sort of developed.
I think it's great when you look at the work, you can see, like, it's obvious something was going on. So it's really, of course, we're curious to know what that is. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, no problem. You know, I'm pretty private about
I know
my life, and I really didn't, when it was going on, I really didn't share much. But you know, it's so important to the aspect of this show and the symbolism behind the show. So
yeah. And now does it help to be able to sort of to talk about it now, because to bring everything together through your work?
Yeah, you know, it's, you know, I don't know how many people in here have ever experienced in-home hospice, but it's not fun. It's horrible. It's all about suffering and pain and misery, and trying to make someone as comfortable as possible, when really in this situation it's very difficult, and there's a lot of emotions that go on. So that sort of stuff that was going on in my life, and seeing others experiencing it in my family, that's kind of like the outlet I pushed.
Yeah. Yeah, the work vibrates with that feeling. So
okay.
Yeah, no, it does. You have such a variety of animals, and actually this is a question that came from Christoph, but it's kind of like perfect timing, but you use a variety of different animals. Can you talk about your choices and why you're using them?
There's a specific reason why some of my animals.
Great.
So I have, if Jess wants to like go over to like the bugs.
Go to the bug section, please.
So a lot of I like the bugs, for instance, they're pests.
Okay.
And I created, you know, some of the animal symbolism. You have prey and predators, and some of the bugs, and some of like the mice, and smaller bird creatures. Like some of them are pests and some of them are prey. So like the bugs here, I think I did a series of 3 of them. Even the 4th one, but it's like in a different, it's at the very end. It's the one called Her Shit Doesn't Stink. And again, she's a fly, so she's more of like a pest. And that's kind of like where I came up with like the symbolism, like the tiger, again with the spiders, you have this predator being overrun with all these pests on her spots. So I try to incorporate the symbolism in the animals too. Yeah, those are the ones.
Are there like very specific people that each one of these characters represent, or is it like a conglomerate? Oh, and you don't have to, you don't have to name names.
There are.
Uh-oh. Good question. You can answer it any way you'd like.
Oh, I don't know if I can.
It's okay.
There were some people, you know, over, not just over the year, but over the years that have grasped me and crossed me in a way. So I sort of developed,
So you got them back.
I did.
It's pretty good. Okay, I'll ask you. I don't know if this is easier to answer, or there might not be one, but are any of those characters yourself?
You know, that's hard to say. I think, you know, in some form or another, an artist always puts themselves in their work, you know, and I think some of the emotions that I thank you, Jess.
Like, we know your emotions are in all of them, but I wasn't sure if there was like a specific character, because there's a couple characters that repeat, if you had one that you like have attached yourself to.
Well, I have emotional attachments to specific pieces in the show that, you know, when you work on something for such a long period of time, someone like the paintings took me a couple of weeks, you begin to like get emotionally attached.
I'm sure.
Some of the paintings that when you finish, it's almost like I don't know what to do with myself. Because I would work on multiple pieces at once. Sometimes some of those pieces were so labor intensive, so it took me, you know, and a lot of reworking. Some of the pieces, you know, I would sketch out. I have my sketchbook here too.
Oh, show us, yeah.
Yeah, so some of them that I would sketch out, I would end up painting, and then I would just be unhappy about like a certain area of the painting, and I would end up reworking it. So I was happy with how it came out. But I can show you like,
yes,
how I start some of them. Like, here's my Ken and Barbie sketch.
Whoa.
So this is like a sketch I had for that painting. Again, the colors came out very different. I was in a different mood that day. So I think that's why the colors were so bright and different. So I can show you, here's the sketch for the clown piece at the back of the gallery.
Oh, wow.
I think the colors are pretty much the same.
Yeah, so you really worked them out.
Yeah,
really,
well,
almost to their end.
Full size, because these are just like sketches that I would work on. I would go, you know, maybe I'll turn this into like a full piece. Some of these I just like sit and I draw out, and then I say, oh, this would look so beautiful at a larger size. So I would take it into a final piece. Here's a smaller one. This is the one that is Spill. It's my little no bigger than my hand.
It's good for scale.
Yeah. So I can show you like my kind of process and how I work. Here is my peacock. This is the for primping. This was developed after someone I didn't like.
We're gonna not name names.
I won't name names.
But you know who you are. I don't know if they're there or listening, but
no, they were all like, oh.
Just in case. Eric has asked a question which I think fits into what you're talking about right now, which he asked if you could talk a little bit more about your color choice or the limited palette that you work with.
Okay, well, originally when I did a lot of like sideshow paintings in burlesque, I absolutely loved the primary color palette. I was obsessed with my reds, you know, and my blues, and keeping things like 3-tone simple as possible. But now I feel like you get so comfortable at one thing sometimes that you don't realize, and you play it safe. So I started working into like more fluorescents, more neon. Some of them actually are painted with fluorescent paints that would probably light up.
Black light.
Yeah, yeah. But as far as color choices go, I try to complement the colors with how I want to create that specific mood in that piece. A lot of them were more in your face and bold. So I would use like for instance, in the Envious piece, which is the big scorpion electrocuting the two ladies in her claws. I'll show you like the little sketch.
Okay.
I started thinking, well, I start with like a base color. Maybe my main color for this piece will be pink, for instance.
Okay.
And then what I do is I build, analogous and complementary colors around my base color of what I want the main focus to be. And then the others will kind of complement the rest of the piece. By making any sense? That's kind of how I chose my color schemes for this particular show. For instance, like Truth Seekers, I started purple, and then that's with the lady with the snakes coming out of her eyes. I think it's a couple more down, Jess. There it is. Yes, that one. So my base was purple, and I sort of chose colors that would kind of complement that main color, which was yellow and green. So and as far as like my ink drawings go, I try to, like my smaller ink drawings, I love working in black and white. I think there's something so beautiful with black and white drawings. So sometimes for black and white drawings, I keep colors limited. I'll add like one or two. Thank you, Jess. I'll add like one or two little colors, but I love to just keep it graphical with black and white.
Miss Amanda, do you want to pop onto your website and talk a little bit about your other work and your animations, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
I love Amanda's animations. I think they're really exciting. I love watching her work come alive with the animation. So I'm going in that direction.
Yeah.
And then if you have any questions, guys, feel free to pop them up either on your Facebook Live or in our chat box on Zoom. And when we get to more question and answer time, we will ask Amanda to address them. She has a beautiful website. She built it, guys.
Here's my website. Yeah. So hold on. Let me just set that this little window in the way. Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, like my black and white graphical stuff. I love, you've got my very colorful stuff. It's two very like vastly different types of ways of working. When I get tired of painting and the colorful stuff, I love to work more like black and white and graphical. And I also, which I don't have on here right now, is my embroidery stuff.
Oh, yes.
I can also explain that I love to push my work further. So I love to experiment in different mediums because it keeps things a little bit more interesting. And I do work in animation also. I work in embroidery. I work in a couple of different mediums, then painting and drawing, because it keeps my work fresh, I feel. So, and it keeps me less bored of my work.
It's wearable. Right? I think Jess actually just went over to one of the hats that she has at the shop.
Oh, wait. Oh,
there it is.
My computer back on because I think it's the batteries running out again.
Uh-oh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I did the sneak hat I did for the exhibition was basically based off of like the creation of mankind with Adam and Eve, and that's kind of why I had the snake. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So yeah, that one was done on an embroidery machine. The face is done on the mechanized embroidery machine, and then the rest of the snake is it's done by hand.
How many of those types of pieces have you made? Have you done a lot of embroidery?
Right now I've done the spider one, the carousel, the snake, and I have a couple of different like spider colorways that I'm working on. So what happens is you have to program these embroideries in a computer program called PE Design, because I work on a brother machine.
Oh.
So it takes some time to program all the stitches.
Wow. So you do each stitch has to get programmed?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So it takes a little while, and what happens is you have to like test sew things out before you can go to a finished product, so you can like address and edit things that you don't like, so that way when you go to the final product there's nothing that seems off. So that's what I had done with the snake hat, was I actually sewed it out twice because there were some things that were bothering me about the sign, and then I eventually fixed it and then went right to the final. But it's like a different way of working, and it just keeps me more interested in my work when I'm working with different mediums.
Is there anything you haven't that you're like looking forward to delving more into that you haven't tried yet? Because
well, I'm starting, as you can see, I'm starting a little bit more with digital animation. I took a traditional animation class 2 years ago, and that was amazing because you more appreciate traditional animation as you see it, you know, the old school animations, and how hard it really was to develop all that. Because everything is drawn by hand, frame by frame, hundreds of thousands of frames.
wow.
So then I took a class in digital animation last year, and I had so much fun. I was animating in Photoshop and After Effects, and I want to like pursue that avenue a little bit more because it's so much fun to see my work move.
I agree.
So different. Yeah.
And so the two animations that are kind of on the screen right now, are those are the ones you've done in Photoshop and After Effects?
Yeah, I have a couple of more, but these are the two that I'm like most happy presenting on my website right now, because some of them are more of like my earlier. I still have my Swan one that I could have put up, but that one, it's very light on the screen. So I figured maybe in the future I'll rework it a little bit, and that way I'll be able to put on my website, because it's drawn in pencil and it's so light, because it was just traced on a light box and photographed 78 times and then put in a program. So it was all done like frame by frame.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I think maybe
I'm gonna poke through them a little.
Yeah, I'm trying to think maybe if I have it on Instagram, but I don't know if I'm logged in there. But I'll like go through right now.
Sure. You mentioned doing an animation by hand. Can you give us just like a little, so people out there get an idea of how many drawings it takes for like a second of animation? Or something like that. Like you told me, I'm cheating because I know earlier how many for your other animation, but like if you were to do the French kissing by
Let me see if I can pull up my Instagram. Oh, actually, wait a minute. I think I have the link on my website. I have the swan on my Instagram, so I can.
Oh, great!
Yeah, just let me.
Yeah, go ahead, click over.
Here. See if I can find her. Oh no.
It's okay. I'm saying hello to all our Facebook friends out there that are joining us. Thank you guys so much.
Let me see if I can log in real quick. I'm sorry.
If you guys on Facebook have any questions, feel free to send them into the chat on Facebook and we'll address them. And then Amanda, while you're poking around there, You have one hat at Muñeca Art House, but are your other pieces available anywhere, or are those not available yet? The embroidery pieces.
They are available.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are they on your website or?
Not right now.
Oh, okay. But if you're interested in them, you can reach out to Amanda.
Yeah.
I love the carousel hat. I've seen that in person and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I can't. I
It's
can't log in without. I have to go get my password on the top of my head right now. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. If you want, why don't you click through your website and then I'll see if I can access Instagram on my computer for you.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
All right. So these are my animations that I currently have. This is called French Kissing. And your question before, like how many frames in a second? I mean, it depends on when like how fast you want your animation to go. I think this was 2 frames per second. So every second is counting 2 frames.
Wow. Oh, Amanda, can you click back to your website, hun? Right now it's stuck on the Instagram page.
Oh, really? Oh, hold on. I have resumed share. Okay. Is that better?
Give it 1 sec. I think it just needs to catch up.
I must have accidentally.
There you go. No problem. You're on there.
So this animation was 2 frames a second. I don't know exactly how many. It was a lot of frames. To do this little tongue animation. It was a couple of frames. And then I have, so this one was, I actually sketched this out digitally. I didn't really do it was kind of like fooling around digitally. And then I ended up developing it into this. I do have some like fighting tongue characters in my sketchbook. So I kind of like added little things. And then this was a walk cycle that I had done. This is a walk cycle that I had done in the summer.
I love that your own work brings you so much happiness.
So that one, this is a walk cycle I had done. And then again, like the swan one, that one I had done. It was, if you can pull it up, it was about 78 drawings that I had done on a light box, and then it was photographed in a studio, and it was imported into, I think it's a program called Dragon Frame. And Dragon Frame sort of puts it all together in a video. And then you can import it as a movie that way. But it's all done with cameras and light boxes, like very, very old traditional.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just on your Instagram now, and I'm just going to see if I can pull it up for people. But feel free to poke around your website and show everybody whatever you would like to. And also, Jess, if you have any questions, feel free to hop in. I'm going to just give us 1 second here and see if I can.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I'm going to see if I can pull up this Instagram.
So this is the piece I was talking about before with color, that I decided on pink as the main focus color, and then I would develop the other colors around it. When I'm choosing, like for each piece, when I'm choosing background colors, I'm choosing colors that will allow the front and the main graphic of the image to sort of pop out. So that's how I develop background colors too.
And Amanda, when you we got a question from someone too that asked, could you talk a little bit about your influences and artists that have influenced you through your career?
I have so many. Reginald Marsh, he inspired me during my Coney Island phase. He's incredible. He's an incredible live painter, location painter. I've seen his work at the Brooklyn Museum when they had that beautiful Coney Island exhibit. I think I went 3 times for that exhibit because his work is done in egg tempura.
Oh wow!
Yeah, egg tempura, and it's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. And a lot of his work reminds me of Hieronymus Bosch. His
Okay.
work, like I can probably, do you want me to pull up an image of his?
Sure, go for it.
Let's see.
Have you ever worked in egg tempura?
No, I have not.
I have. This is a story for another time.
Okay. So his work is very like grotesque. It reminds me of Hieronymus Bosch with like, you know, figures all mushed together, almost like depictions of hell a little bit, but in like quotable scenes. So this work sort of inspired, you know, a lot of like the work that I'm doing today. And I also love Hokusai. I love Aubrey Beardsley. I have, you know, there's a lot of like Toulouse-Lautrec, Jules Cheret, a lot of like the 18th and 19th century French painters. The list can go on and on. My advice to artists is just collect a lot of books that you love, because I have a never-ending collection of books over books and books and books that I've collected over the years of my absolute favorite artists that I reference constantly. For instance, like I have a book that I recently acquired called Voluptuous Panic, and is basically a book filled with Weimar Republic German World War II art, that in the underground like Weimar scene, there was a lot of like underground, you know, burlesque and cabaret, and a lot of like different underground, I don't know how to say this without saying like PG as possible.
I got it.
I'm trying to find the words. There was a lot of stuff going on.
A little debauchery? Some debauchery?
Debauchery, yes. It's a book on debauchery.
Underground German debauchery. Does that sum it up?
That's a book that I've been like looking through recently, because a lot of like the German expressionist art is so graphic and so beautiful. They have like a lot of like woodblock print and carved art, and a lot of their paintings are mutated looking and monstrous and very exaggerated.
Yeah, they have a lot of the same type of expression that you have in your work. It makes a lot of sense. Have you ever actually done any wood blocks with this type of imagery?
No, I have not done a lot of printmaking.
Oh, it would be interesting to see one of these as like a real wood block. It's another thing for you to try. After Human Nature, have you started another body of work, new work? Where do you see your next direction and body of work going?
Right now, you know, there's a lot going on. I'm not really too sure.
Yes.
You know, developing a body of work, sometimes you can come upon it on purpose and come upon it on accident.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of still in like this monster and mutant kind of drawing phase. I'm just like I'm living in the moment and enjoying drawing this kind of subject right now.
Yes, it's not over yet.
It's not over yet.
You still have people to draw. I kind of want to make you angry just to see what.
No
We have another question for you,
Yeah.
which is how do you edit down from your sketchbook? So how do you take one of your sketches and develop it into a painting? How do you make those decisions, and what's that
Okay.
process like for you?
So I can probably show you, I have a couple of like edited pieces.
Oh, okay, cool.
I can show you. Let me just find them. All right. Let's see, which one should I choose?
While she's looking for those sketches, guys, any questions? Throw them over into the chat. Pick her little brain. Anything you want to know about.
All right. I mean, I can start with, I guess we'll start with this one. This is the sketch. Here, I'm gonna stop sharing real quick so that I can see the camera.
I'll
This
pin
is
you.
the sketch
in
for
the
the two-faced unicorn piece. That's it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
These were other ideas that I had developed. And then I brought this sketch because I thought, okay, this is a good idea, but I can maybe develop it a little bit further. So then I made it a little bit bigger. I'm not sure, in my sketchbook. So she was originally going to be a giraffe.
Ah, okay.
And I had a lot of Baroque art books laying around that I kind of was looking through that week, and I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe I should turn this drawing into inspired by the unicorn tapestries.
Oh, yes.
So I created this unicorn and all this flora and fauna around her.
Would you ever consider developing that unicorn piece into the other unicorn tapestries? Like, would you? Do you ever do that?
Oh yeah, the background was a lot of fun to make. But yeah, I definitely, it was so different working in this way because I've never developed a background like that before, and I definitely want to entertain this idea again. Yeah, that was.
It all comes to, but I can totally see how even something like that, even though it sounds like the process would probably be incredibly long, but one of those pieces turning into a tapestry type piece or a larger embroidery, would you ever expand off of a wearable and create like
oh yeah,
more of a hanging type of?
I have a couple of files I've been experimenting on over a couple of years, but it's a lot of registration.
Yeah.
Meaning that my machine can only, let's say, fit a 11 by 14.
Oh, okay.
Design. So what you have to do is when you make the entire product by hand, you have to register it in the machine so that way the edges of each panel line up. So when you're creating like a digital embroidery, I mean by hand, it's a little bit more simpler. Maybe I'll experiment by hand, I don't know. But by machine, you need to line up registration marks and have to, when you're creating a piece, you have to be mindful of how it's going to sew out.
Okay, sure. So it's not as easy as it sounds.
It's embroidery. Well, I kind of love animation and embroidery. I know they're two very different mediums, but a lot of problem solving goes into both of them. So it allows me to just like constantly think. It's like puzzle solving a little bit. How can I get, this to move the way I want in space, or how can I get this to sew out, this way or that way? So it's problem solving.
Yeah, it's an exciting process, both of them.
Yeah.
We have another question for you. Christoph must know, absolutely must know, what the pink squiggly line down the unicorn's front leg is. Thank you, Christoph, for your question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It's a fantastic question.
So in a lot of my works, let me see, am I sharing the screen again? I'm gonna like
you can share it. Go ahead, bring it up. Let's see the pink squiggly line down the unicorn's leg.
Okay. I'm gonna show you other pieces also that kind of have like that similar. Let's see.
We've got a ringer. Someone new to point out that squiggly line.
Okay. So these kind of like squiggly lines that I've sort of created are more like action lines. In some of my pieces, they're more for the viewer to kind of follow the lines through the form and the subject.
Oh, wow.
So I created like this piece, vulnerability. I think this was one of the first, or around one of the first pieces that I started creating these lines of motion. I also started them in my sketchbook, completely on accident. You know, sometimes there's happy accidents when you're drawing something and you mean to destroy it, and then you're like, well, this line looks nice now.
Yeah, let me leave that one. It becomes a formal element, really.
Yeah, I can show you real quick. I have the sketch of vulnerability in here, and it's pretty large. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Here it is. So I'm going to stop share so that way
Sure.
I can see it.
We are mastering
So
Zoom.
here is the sketch that I hated.
Oh, okay.
I meant to, you know, I didn't do this any smaller. I kind of was sitting down one day and I was just sketching in my book, and I was looking at a lot of Weimar Republic imagery.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of where like the stockings come into play also. And I just didn't like this form I created. So I started scribbling on it. And then I created these like wavy action lines. And I said to myself, oh, this is a cool, thank you, Jeff.
It adds to that vibration of emotion that they emit.
So then I began, even in my paintings a little bit, there's different little lines of motion that I would put in maybe like different colors. So that way your eye kind of moves to those areas specifically. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're brilliant. Super smart.
I got a lot of comments when I posted the vulnerability one. I got a lot of comments a while back about the rippling lines on her butt.
Oh, and the unicorn. Can you bring up the unicorn and show that pink squiggly line on the unicorn again? And Eric also
on my website, or
whatever's easier for you. Eric said that he never noticed these lines before, and that they really help build the complication level of the art. So
okay, cool.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric's also a collector.
He certainly is. He's one of my best friends.
Oh, you outed him.
Yeah, so these like, I'm pointing at the laptop like an idiot.
Oh, that's okay.
So these like lines on her head, these like volt lines, are sort of like another interpretation on the other one, Jess. Perfect. Yeah, see, these lines are another like interpretation of like the other waving lines I've created in like in a kind of a different way. And again, it like allows the viewer to look. It allows the viewer to kind of move their eye around the painting.
Yeah, you're kind of like controlling their eye in another way. It's really smart.
Thank you.
Eric is a huge fan. He just said
that.
Yeah. We're all fans, and we're grateful for friends that support us always. That's how we become friends too, right? People buy your work and then they gotta know you.
I knew them both. They were both classmates of mine at Farmingdale.
Oh, really? Oh, hey, Farmingdale alumni.
Oh.
Love them. We're gonna post this later to the Farmingdale Facebook. All right, guys. Well, do you have any other questions for Amanda? Now's your time to like throw them up there. One of my favorite pictures is Amanda